Well, well, well. The time has finally come, folks. Today is the day where I get to review my most anticipated otome of 2021. Earlier this year, I had posted a video where I talked about upcoming releases by Axis, and the game that I was most excited for, by a very large margin I may add, was Olympia Soirée. After all the dark mystery and crime otomes such as Pio Fiore, Collar Malice, and Bustafellows, my shoujo-loving heart was craving nothing more than a sweet, heart-pounding love story, and I am happy to announce that Olympia Soirée gave me all that and more. This game had me smiling, laughing, crying, and it even induced rage in me that may or may not have had me cursing at some of the characters, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Now I know when I make these review videos, I always try to remain impartial, but today I'm throwing that all out of the window because I can't help but gush about this game. As per usual, I will discuss the characters, the plot, and who I would and would not recommend this game to. But I'm just giving you guys a fair warning, I am completely and utterly in love with this game. Firstly, I'm going to give you guys the most bare bones premise before I dive in a little bit deeper with the lore and plot of this game. This story follows our titular character, Olympia, who has just turned 18 and has been informed that because she has now reached adulthood, she must find a partner to carry on her family's unique bloodline. That's it. Sounds simple, right? It basically sounds like your only task is just to romance the heck out of 6 handsome, eligible bachelors, but ho ho ho, let me stop you right there. You see, on Tengu Island, where this story takes place, society is regulated by a very rigid caste system that defines everything and everyone by color. Every person is sorted into a color class when they are born, all depending on which color traits they may display. To explain this a little bit more, I would like you guys to imagine a hierarchy pyramid. Up at the very top, we have the color white. These would be descendants from a neighboring island called Tenyo Island, where our main character, Olympia, is from. Next is the primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Following the primary colors, we have the secondary colors, vermilion, orange, jade, green, cyan, violet, purple, fuchsia, and aqua. After the secondary characters, we get into the pied, which is further divided into 2 categories, ko and otsu. These are people born from the primary and secondary tier that don't exhibit color traits from either tier, or exhibit 4 or more color traits. Near the bottom, we have the versi. These are people with rare color and or multiple color traits. Because their status is considered low, these people are forced to live underground in a place called yomi, and these citizens are never allowed to go to the surface. And lastly, we have the black class, a color which has only shown up on the island a few decades ago. You might be feeling overwhelmed with this information, but it is all explained in great detail in the beginning of the game, and I, personally, found it easy to grasp and remember, especially with the glossary this game provides. Now this caste system not only determines where citizens can and can't live, it also determines who they may marry. For example, primary and secondary colors may wed, but not with any class lower than secondary, and the pied class cannot marry anyone from a higher tier. Because versi and black are considered the lowest in society, they may only marry other residents of yomi. Now Olympia is caught in a very precarious situation due to an event that happened years ago called the Red Calamity. She is now the only remaining white descendant, which is why it's so important that she finds a partner to continue her bloodline. With all that being said, because of her unique circumstances and the fact that she is so high up on the color hierarchy, she is informed that she may choose a partner of any color, and that is where her story truly begins. Phew! I know that was a lot to take in, guys. Hats off to you if you were able to follow that with me, but trust me, this game does a very good job of explaining this. I just made a very quick SparkNotes version for you. Now, let me introduce you to the love interests you'll meet, because oh man, this game has some of the best characters that I've come across. First up in our pool of love interests is Akaza. He is the director of the Kotowari, an institution that monitors and controls matters on the island, and a member of the Red Class. He is the man that informs Olympia of her duty to find a mate, and he even goes as far to say that he'll fulfill the role as her partner if she cannot find anyone suitable. Akaza has been given the nickname the Iron Mask due to his constant calm and collected disposition, but he's always willing to help anyone from the island, no matter their color class. Next up is a member of the Black Class, Kuroba. He is a highly regarded doctor and the deputy director of the Kotowari. Under normal circumstances, people of the Black Class are forbidden from living on the surface, but Kuroba has been given special privileges due to his position and academic prowess. He is very friendly to everyone he meets, no matter their class, and doesn't hesitate to try and woo Olympia from her very first encounter with him. Next is Yosuga. He is the only remaining member of the Purple Class, for reasons that you'll uncover later in the game, and he spends most of his time caring for customers at his bathhouse in Yomi. From the moment you meet him, he gives off a very sensual, mysterious vibe, and you can't help but be naturally drawn to this man. Moving on, we have Amakusa Shiro Tokisada, or Tokisada for short. Although he is a member of the Green Class, he originally was an outsider from another land that had washed ashore one day. He's playful and kind, and Olympia very quickly becomes friends with him. Next up is Riku, a member of the Blue and a soldier in the military. His current job is to monitor the gate between Yomi and the surface. He is a very diligent man in both his work and his everyday life, and always tries to uphold the ideals and morals of the Blue Class. Finally, we have the Undertaker of the island, Himuka. His job is to send off the souls of those who have passed away, both on the surface and in Yomi. He is very quiet and soft-spoken, but shows a strong devotion for Olympia that she can't quite understand. Now, I normally don't talk about the side characters, but this game has some damn good characters that I want to introduce you to. No, not you, go away. We have a supposed god that lives behind a closed curtain in a grand chamber, a little boy from Yomi who dreams that one day he may be able to see the surface, and a man that's been deemed a criminal just for falling in love. That was only a handful of the side characters, but there's so many more with intricate, heart-wrenching stories that will definitely keep you eager to learn more. Now let's talk about some of the features of this game that I really liked. First of all, choosing the route you'd like has never been easier, as this game lets you decide who you'd like to romance. The common route has no multiple choice sections, so you won't have to worry whether the choice you made will lead you down a path of a character that you weren't interested in or have already played previously. Once the common route is complete, you will then be able to decide which character has piqued your interest, with the exception of Himuka and Akaza, whose routes will only be unlocked respectively after completing the first 4 characters. Normally, after you complete a character's route, it will unlock some extra bonus photos and side stories, but this game added something extra with memoirs from each character. Now these memoirs are not only for the main suitors, but also for many of the side characters, such as Asuha and Kaina, who I spoke about before. You will get to learn a little bit about each of their past, and in turn, get a sense of why they are the way they are. Although that doesn't always justify their actions. Kanan. These are actually pretty interesting and insightful to read, and since all of them will only be unlocked after completing all the routes, it provides a great incentive to finish the game. Oh my goodness, the soundtrack to this game is amazing. I am a massive fan of score soundtracks. I'm generally always playing a score in the background when I'm working or at home, and this soundtrack has been on repeat since I first played this game. This otome has some of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, and some of the most atmospheric, I might add. There's this one song that I really love. It's called Senko, and this track shows up basically whenever something romantic and emotional happens. I listen to this song constantly, but don't get me wrong, the entire soundtrack is wonderful. So, great score? Check. I cannot emphasize enough to you guys how much I love this game's story. Otome games are typically defined as a story-based video game where one of the goals, besides the main goal, is to develop a romantic relationship between one of the several love interests. But in the case of Olympia Soirée, those two goals are so heavily intertwined with one another that it created some of the most epic love stories I've ever come across in a visual novel. It starts off as a seemingly easy to follow romantic tale, but when you start to dive deeper into the lore of Tengu Island and its inhabitants, you'll learn more of each individual character and slowly unravel the world's complex history. This game was a roller coaster ride of emotions for me. I found myself laughing at the banter between Olympia and the other characters. I was swooning over all the male leads. I was definitely cursing at some of the side characters. Man, get this guy out of here! And I will shamelessly admit that this is the first otome that I cried playing. Yes, this game had me absolutely sobbing in one route. So take it from me, you guys, this is an emotional one. The best example I can provide you guys with is when each route is finished, whether good or bad, there will be a little monologue by the male lead. In the good ending, you'll get a very happy message. But in the bad ending, oh boy, when you get a bad ending, you'll be feeling it deep in your soul. Take my advice, and once you finish a bad route, maybe walk it off or treat yourself to some chocolate or something. Just find a way to distract yourself from that dose of depression you just gave yourself. Now, what is an otome review by yours truly without me mentioning the voice acting? Well, let me start off by saying that this game already had almost all of my favorite voice actors, so I knew this was going to be a good one. But oh my goodness, I was blown away by these voices. Each voice actor suited their character perfectly, and the way they conveyed the character's emotions was phenomenal. The best example I can give you guys is Tokisada's bad ending monologue. You can hear the absolute despair in this man's voice. It's gut-wrenching to listen to. And although it's heartbreaking, it's impressive that the voice actor could capture it so perfectly. Now, let's move on to my final thoughts. Do I think this game is for everyone? No, I do not. Like I mentioned previously, this game is very heavily romance-based, and some people just won't vibe with that. This game also touches on a lot of heavy topics, such as sexual assault, suicide, and just a whole bunch of death in general, which may be triggering to some players. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. I'd also like to note that this game is very heavily plot-driven and quite lengthy with a lot of world building. Each route alone has a good 14-ish chapters, and that's not including the common route. So if you're looking for a quick and easy game, this would probably not be the best choice for you. With all that being said, I definitely recommend this game to those who are looking for a good plain old love story. Now when I say plain, I don't mean that the routes are boring, because they certainly aren't. But the core of this story is finding that special someone to spend the rest of your life with. And if that doesn't hit the nail on the head of romance, then I don't know what will. Now, who are my favorite characters? Oh boy, this was such a tricky one for me to decide. First, let me preface this by saying I had to think about this for days because I kept flip-flopping between everyone. Literally everyone. I loved every single character for one reason or another, but personally, there were two suitors that I kept constantly going back to. And the first man is the man, the myth, the legend, Riku. This tsundere had me from the very first chapter of his route. I'll admit, I was a little bit hesitant choosing him from what I saw in the common route, but don't judge a book by its cover, because this man went through some serious character development, and I loved it. The second character that stole the spotlight for me may be a shocker to some of you guys, but it was none other than Himuka. His route can only be described as tragically beautiful. I'll admit, his route was the one where I shed uncontrollable tears, and I have no regrets about it. Just from playing the common route, Himuka gives off this very mysterious, ethereal vibe, and unraveling his story was such a treat for my angst-loving heart. Now, if I had to rate this game, I would wholeheartedly give it a 9, maybe even a 9.5 out of 10. This game exceeded all my expectations and left me utterly satisfied after completing it. I couldn't have asked for anything more. I feel really bad because nearly every review video I've made so far, I'm like, this has become my favorite otome. But oh my gosh, these game companies have been knocking it out of the park these last 2 years, and that makes me incredibly excited for what's to come. So I hope this video helped you guys decide whether or not to pick up this game. Although this game provides an extremely large dose of romance, it certainly does not lack in mystery, adventure, and drama. So if you have reached the end of this video and are still undecided, I would implore you to take a chance on this game. It may surprise you with what it has to offer. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end of this video. I had such a fun time making it, and I really hope you found it informative. If you guys have any questions at all about this game, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to reply to you as soon as I can. Now you'll have to excuse me, because I'm currently replaying Olympia Soirée, and I'm about to have a date with a certain purple man. And no, it's not Barney the dinosaur. As always, I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, you're staying safe, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye!